right, now we're underneath the M3, and we're using Tavarish's garage here. If you're watching this video, that means that Chad has been driving the E46 BMW M3 for quite some time. In this video, I want to talk about the start of the adventure, where I basically flew down from Newark to Orlando to pick up the car, which is sitting at Tavarish's place, and I have to drive it back over 1,100 miles in about 18 hours. So the BMW has about 171,000 miles on it, and again, I'm about to put it through an 1,100 mile road trip. So I'm really testing German reliability at 171,000 miles, seeing how that's going to work through this road trip, which should be fairly smooth, but we're expecting a ton of snow, so let's see what happens. Hopefully the road is completely clear, but I'll be documenting it throughout the entire way. Stick around and see what happens. And I finally made it. I'm here at Tavarish's house, and he's been so kind to kind of hold the M3 for us for a couple of days while I traveled down here to pick it up and start the journey way back to New Jersey. So I want to get Tavarish in here on the video and let him take a look at this and let us know what's wrong with it. So we're going to do a quick walk around.
Okay, well, I cleaned up all the oil that was left on the ground, and I cleaned up all the coolant, so I probably shouldn't have told you that, but we should be all right. We should be all right.
So, all right. So I'm about to make this long drive.
Yeah.
And it's about 1,100 miles.
Sure.
So that's a pretty significant chunk for any car.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a quick walk around, and I want your impressions and your thoughts as to what could potentially go wrong in this road trip.
Okay. Yeah,
and,
sure.
Just the general overall condition.
Sure. Okay. So what could potentially go wrong in this car is what you see in front of you. Everything can go wrong in this car. Well, okay, I'm just joking, but this is a 2002 BMW M3. It's not known for its reliability. It is known for being the benchmark for performance of this era. It looks really good, but there are a few things that sort of let it down. Number one is the fact that it has a cooling system made of plastic, and that's not a joke. That is 100% made of plastic. And these expansion tanks, the expansion tanks that usually are made with some other material on other cars, these tend to blow up, like literally just explode. My expansion tank on my old M3 just blew up after driving it, but this one is brand new. And this cooling system has been overhauled by its previous owner, so you should be pretty good to go.
I'm curious of the water pump and the thermostat. I'm guessing that's been replaced a couple of different times.
Yeah. Okay, so on this car, everything's been gone through: the suspension, the cooling system, all the seals and gaskets. The only thing that's on this car, I believe, that might be a potential issue is the rear main seal. It is leaking a little bit, but nothing too bad. I think it's just, I think it left a little spot on my driveway, but nothing to write home about. Especially if you're going to be driving this, 1,100 miles, you should be able to make this no problem. But another potential issue on this car, on any BMW M3, not necessarily this one, but it's the fact that underneath the car, there's the subframe and the floor of the chassis. They don't really make good bedfellows. It actually, the subframe starts eating away into the chassis, and it cracks. And that is not a problem with this car. This actually has been a Florida car for its entire life, and it has been gone through to make sure that that's not an issue. But if you do have a 325 or a 330 or an M3, the E46s are known for this issue. So if you ever see one of these driving around and it's just dumped in the back, that's where you know it's not coilovers, it's just broken.
Let's take a look at the bodywork and just the general shape of everything. I see the front bumper here, like the paint is kind of rough, and it looks like there's
the paint is pretty rough. It's 172,000 miles. You can't really ask for it. You can just repaint the bumper. It's not missing any major chunks, so it's fine. This bodywork I think it'll take to shine particularly well. There are some scratches in the paintwork, but again, it's not bad at all.
Now let's take a look at around the back.
Sure.
And of course, if you guys just look around, this is Tavarish's car collection. It's pretty insane. No normal person should have this amount of cars. And of course,
this is my pride and joy, as you can see.
This is the current project. This is Mr. 2.
Well, no, this is the parts car.
The parts car.
Mr. 2 is back there somewhere.
Yeah.
And here you have the most disgusting, dirty Aston Martin in the world. Here you have my SL55 with a disgusting bumper that I have to fix, but this isn't really a good look for me, man.
All right, let's get back to the M3.
Okay, so in the back, it's pretty good. It has a little thing missing here, but
the tow hook.
honestly, this is just it'll save you time. It's a BMW, so just keep that.
It's a part that gets eventually lost anyway in
exactly.
all cars. Yeah,
I mean, you're gonna use it. You are gonna use it 100%. But yeah, everything seems to be straight. I think the car did have an accident when it was parked at some point, but all this was redone. It's like it's new paintwork, and you can't tell that anything happened.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a really, really good, solid car.
Awesome.
And I hope you guys do something interesting with it. Not just like, well, we're gonna see how fast it is around Englishtown. Like, do something cool. Do something cool.
We'll try. Okay, already starting to see that there's a lot of wear and tear on the interior. So the unlock button here has been pressed one too many times. There we go.
Still works though.
Still works. Still wired up. That German reliability.
Do you understand that it's cold in Florida right now? This is what you brought.
All right, so now we're inside the BMW M3. Steering wheel looks pretty rough, but again, that's just regular wear and tear. This car is a 2002, so it is 15 years old.
Yep.
I graduated high school in 2002. Yeah. So looking at the coin tray, this investment is already giving us more money. So you know,
I should.
it's ours now.
Shit.
You know. And we've got some loose screws that's probably not as relevant, so they're there. And
I mean, if they're there, they can't be important.
No, exactly. That's your spare parts.
Exactly, it's bonus parts.
Yeah. And then, like you saw earlier, this is your hazard and door lock and unlock button, and it's been pressed into forcibly, I would think. So we've got the shifter here. The leather is kind of beat up. A lot of shifting into fifth, I guess.
But check this thing out. Why don't you turn?
Yeah.
Turn on the.
Let's.
Turn on the car and.
Where's the start button? There's no start button. Oh, look at that.
Check that out. So that is a Android 6.0 head unit, and has all these cool features. It has, I believe, torque. That app that you can have all these different. I think he programmed it into navigation. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can go to real-time information.
No way.
And it tells you all this cool stuff about your car.
Love it.
But yeah, you can set it up for anything. I have it set up in my SL55 to have boost and coolant temp and all this really cool stuff.
So basically, when I'm crashing into some other car, it's because I'm fiddling with this thing.
Well, yeah, probably because you're paying attention to here and not paying attention to what's
exactly.
on the road.
Yep. And I'm feeling the AC. It's really nice. Actually, we don't need the AC right now, and I don't know how to turn it off.
Yeah,
there you go. And then looking backwards here, we've got a whole lot of tires.
So much room for activities.
This feels like the size of my old 335i, and I know this is a coupe, but there's plenty of room in here.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
And we've got the sunroof up here. Hopefully it doesn't leak. And,
I doubt the sunroof would leak because it rained really hard yesterday, and there's no wetness anywhere. Yeah. And I mean, it rains all the time in Florida, and I think that would have been a real big tell here in Orlando. So it's
okay.
This car is really one thing is this trim is actually a little bit rare. Yeah, this sort of aluminum trim.
Yeah.
So if you want to buy this, like to restore it, it's actually quite expensive. It's like $1,000. So I like this trim, and also this trim, but if
So
you
we
have to,
shouldn't throw that away.
don't throw it away. But if you have to restore it, I'd suggest getting like a 3M wrap that looks like this, and then you should be okay.
Cool. All right. Well, that looks good. I'm gonna take this on a road trip and see how it goes. 945 miles. So it's not 172 and change.
Yes.
It's almost 173.
I just noticed that the check engine light went on.
Ah.
That's weird.
Okay.
That never happened before.
All right. Exciting start to the
crap.
trip. All right.
Yeah, okay, there we go. That's easy. This is a secondary air injection pump,
Okay.
and this hose sometimes comes off.
Loose? Okay.
Yeah, just loose.
It came off of.
It should be okay now. Yep, that's good now. Okay.
Well, there's the inside of the M3's engine bay.
Yeah, so
Looks
this is
relatively
the S54 3.2 liter inline six, making 333 horsepower. It is awesome. It has independent throttle bodies, or is it individual? Because I always get eaten out by guys. I always get eaten up by guys. Don't. Okay. I always get chewed out by commenters. But let's not take that out of context now. Yeah. People really get on me for calling these the wrong thing. So
What is it called officially? Because
they're
I'm
ITBs to me,
ITBs,
and they
yeah.
make a lot of noise, and that they're really cool, and every car should have them.
Irritable, terrible bowels.
Yes,
Right.
irritable, terrible bowels. Yeah, so this is it's a honest engine bay. It's not the cleanest thing in the world, but I think you guys can do the cleaning yourselves.
Of course.
Has a stock Monte Carlo bar, as Jay Leno would put it. Little strut bar here.
Got a little M inscription right there.
Yeah, just in case you forgot. The rod bearings were done very, very recently, like a month ago. And that is a must for this car, because the rod bearings, they basically chew through themselves. So yeah, it's a good thing that they were done. And
I guess, bearings generally have a life, and then they just disintegrate, and then...
not on most cars. I mean,
On
on
most cars.
on BMW M cars, yeah. That's on the E39 M5, the E60 M5, and the E46 M3. Also the E92 M3. They go through bearings really, really quickly. But this is, yeah, these were done. And you're going to want to replace them in the next 100,000 miles. But I don't know if you're going to keep it that long. You're going to make it to 272,000 miles. I don't know.
All right, now we're underneath the M3, and we're using Tavarish's garage here, which he so kindly let us use for a little bit, just to take a look at the underneath.
Just watch your head.
Oh yeah, we've got some oil leakage here, or what is that, just condensation, or?
All right, so this looks like a rear main seal leak.
Okay.
Because it's coming from over there,
Yeah.
and what it's doing is it's leaking, and all the oil is just splashing back when the car's driving.
Yeah.
So it's not that bad. It looks worse than it is, but yeah, it should be okay. This is just wet because it was raining a lot yesterday.
Got it.
So that's not too bad. Yeah, it looks pretty honest. What I like about it is that there's not any rust. There's zero rust here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Again, I guess since this is mostly a Florida car,
Well, it's 100% a Florida.
it's
car.
100%. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, look at the exhaust. Like everything is there's no you can take these bolts off today, and it has 172,000 miles. It's
impressive.
Yeah, I've never been able to do that on Jersey cars.
So, like you were mentioning the oil leak here. I'm guessing it's just.
Oh yeah. So the
through
oil,
here,
it just kind of
Yeah.
gets blown out. So let's see. Yeah, it's just a common oil leak.
Yeah.
The rack looks in good shape.
Yeah. The seals look good.
Yeah, everything's fine. Yeah, he told me he replaced that.
Okay.
The subframe, all that stuff looks good. All the joints don't look cracked or anything like that. Bilstein shocks, which is good. Stainless steel brake lines. This is a nice little car you got here, man. just a little jelly right now.
Yes. Let's take a look at the rear end one more time, just to Going along around, and
Sure.
there's
come back here. This is the LSD rear end, and it's actually quite beefy. I didn't know that it was this big. I've never seen one up close. Yeah, I mean, it looks like there's a little bit of oil seepage, but it's not. Most of them have this. The axles look like they're in good shape. If we follow this around, yeah, they're in good shape. Nothing sticks out as egregious.
In terms of like the brakes and just like general brake feel, they seem to be okay.
Yeah, I mean, when I drove the car, they're fine. The rotors look fine. There is a lot of life left on the pads. If you can see it right here, right there. There's plenty of life left.
Yep.
Yeah. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
take
take
little car,
this
man.
Good little car for an 1,100-mile road trip.
Yeah. I mean, don't jinx it, but yeah, sure.
Knocking on wood. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, Tavarish, for letting us inspect this and giving us your opinion and expert opinion. And
stop it.
All right. Well, all right. I'm going to take this on a road and let's see how we do.
Cool.
All right. All right, I'm somewhere in Georgia, I think, giving you the 250-mile update, filling up the gas, and just some initial thoughts about this car. The inline 6 naturally aspirated, super smooth. The clutch is really in good shape. The shifter is okay. The interior is really beat up, but the best part of the interior is the Android infotainment system. I didn't think that it was going to be really nice to touch and to use, but it was actually pretty easy, and it's in really good shape. It's easy to navigate, so I really like that. It's a really nice surprise. In terms of power, I haven't really taken it over like 4,000 or 5,000 RPMs. It's I know there's a lot of power in here. It feels like it's super torquey, but so far, knock on wood, this thing is going pretty well. So I think I'm averaging about 20 miles per gallon. So we'll see how the rest of the trip goes. All right, update number 2, mileage 557. Somewhere north of Charlotte, North Carolina. Filling the gas again. This thing is a little bit thirsty. I'm averaging about 250 to 300 miles per fill up, going relatively at a good clip. Some more updates. I've been sitting more inside, and the interior is pretty crappy. A lot of things rattle, and a lot of old things just rattle in general. So I can't think of anything else. But anyway, the gas is done. So the next update, it is actually 1:30 in the morning now, and I'm really tired. So the next update that you're going to see is the following day. So cut to 570 miles into the total trip. Just to finish some of my thoughts that I had yesterday about the initial impressions of this car, the headlights is actually pointed a little bit down, so it looks a little bit sad when you're driving behind this car, and or when you're driving this car. I think it just needs a little bit of adjustment so that it could just point normally, but if you turn on the high beams, it works like your normal headlights, which is okay, I guess, but I don't know how annoying that is to the other cars. There's a couple of other issues. The windshield, there's a little chip in there, and I've noticed that every bump that I hit, it's just slightly progressing closer and closer to each other, so the windshield definitely needs to be replaced. But besides that, this car is mechanically sound, so I'm going to continue on this road trip. Another note that I forgot to mention was the self-dimming or the auto-dimming rear view mirror. I guess the ink that essentially gets like energized or whatever to kind of dim the mirror has kind of like leaked out and just like collected at the bottom of the mirror. So the top half of the rear view mirror is just a normal mirror, and the bottom half is just completely dark. So it's when you're driving during the day, you kind of have like this small sliver of rear view mirror, but I'll just drive like an Italian. You know, what's behind me doesn't really matter. So, but the side view mirrors still work, which is great. Those have the tint on it, so again, driving at night, it's not that bad when you have all the HID lights shining right behind you. But, okay, I wanted to give you another update. This time I've driven over 700 miles, so well past the halfway point. Some issues. The Android infotainment system that I initially liked a lot, I found that every time I turn on the car, my Bluetooth would disconnect. So every time I turn on the car, I have to reset that on my phone. It's not an easy thing where you can just jump in and boom, you're connected. So pretty annoying. The other element of the infotainment system, the speakers. So stock, the M3 has, I guess, Harman Kardon speakers. It's branded everywhere, but in this car, the speakers I think are semi blown out. It's a real bummer that Skyline Drive is closed. I have about another 5 hours ahead of me before I could drop this car off to Chad. But yeah, that was kind of like the highlight. That was supposed to be the highlight of this trip, but it's closed because of the weather conditions. But what are you gonna do? Stuff happens. So with that said, this is probably gonna be the last update because I'm hoping nothing else goes wrong. If something does happen, I'll let you know. But overall, this trip has been pretty awesome. It's been pretty smooth. And you know, right now there's 173,784 miles on the clock, and it's running fabulously. I mean, sometimes, you know, the engine has a kind of a rough idle in the beginning, but overall it's not that bad. Let me close this. There's no... Hopefully the lighting works okay. But anywho, final thoughts on this car. It's obviously showing its age. You know, this is and it's opening. What in the world is going on here? This thing found another issue. It can't shut all the way, or it'll just open on its own sometimes. Whatever, let's leave it open. There you go. Is Chad gonna like this car? Absolutely, absolutely. This follows a very simple recipe. Front engine, lots of power, rear wheel drive, and a manual transmission. Simple recipe for a simple man. Chad's absolutely gonna love this thing. It's a lot like his IS300 now, but again, this is a good platform for him to do all of those upgrades that he plans on doing. But before we do that, we're gonna basically baseline this against the Volvo, because that's the whole reason why we got this, is because we had so much trouble trying to find an M3 that was like relatively stock, and we ended up buying one, and this is it. And so far, I mean, compared to the Volvo, my initial impressions, like, the Volvo is going to have such a difficult time because this is such a great platform. Plenty of power, and you know, I didn't really test the handling because weather and questionable tires, and also I don't want to get stranded if I get myself into trouble about hundreds of miles away from my home. So anyway, I think Chad's gonna totally fall in love with this. I think we've totally found a great platform for a second project car. Now's also a good time to ask that if you haven't subscribed already, please do so, and keep up to date with all of our updates to the E46 M3 and also the 2004 Volvo V70R. So now Greg has a project car. Chad will have a project car, although if you're watching this now, that means that he already has this. And then I need a project car. So I'm going to think about that for the next couple of months. And if you have some ideas as to what I should buy so that we could have a proper 3-car comparison, let me know in the comments. And I'm going to take that into consideration. I have something in mind, but I'm going to keep that a secret and let you guys guess. So anyway, hopefully there's no more updates for me. Maybe there's one more or two, but we'll see. But I'm just going to say thank you so much for checking out this adventure. Again, bought a one-way ticket from Jersey to Orlando, buying this car sight unseen, and of course we met with Tavarish. He has already said that, you know, he looked at this car and he vouched for it, and it's true. This car is in great mechanical condition, with just some minor quirks here and there, but it's a 172,000 mile car, so you know, what do you expect? So, but this has been a fantastic road trip. Again, this to me is like road therapy. It is unfortunate that we didn't get to go through Skyline Drive, but that's okay. There's plenty of great roads in America, and we're gonna try and hit most of them eventually. So, but anyway, my name is Hanson. Thank you so much for tuning in to Shifting Lanes. I hope you hit that bell so you can get notified for our future videos. All right, well, that's gonna wrap it up for me, and I'll see you guys next time.